you got it, but you lost it. I was taught to meditate as a child. I was mentored by 2 Buddhist monks for several years, and now I help people with their spiritual awakening. And this is a very common question or very common situation. Something happened, you saw something, you experienced something, and you want to get it back. You lost it. You felt you had a glimpse, you had some kind of experience or breakthrough, but it went away. Now, what that glimpse or breakthrough was can vary from person to person. It could have been during meditation. You may have felt the separate self drop away. You may have had a moment of no thought where the mind stopped and you suddenly realized, wow, this feels peaceful, this feels incredible, there's no thought, and then a thought popped back in. And you've been trying ever since to get back to that state, back to that experience of what happened in meditation. Or maybe something else happened whilst you were out walking in nature. You felt a sensation of being one with everything, or you just had an insight, like a crack in the matrix almost, and you saw the truth of your reality for the first time. Now, these can take any number of forms, literally infinite number of forms in terms of the insights or the breakthroughs that you have. It's very natural to want to reclaim that and want to recreate that and get that back, because it was a taste. It was a taste or a very faint smell of the truth. So you start to do everything that you can to recreate that situation. Now, hopefully it'll help you to tell the story of some of the incidences that I went through and what I did to try and get those back before I kind of saw a better way here. So one of the things that I experienced was an opening of what's known as the crown chakra, which I'll tell you right now, I didn't even know what that was at the time. I thought, I didn't even know the word. I looked this up retrospectively, didn't really believe in all this chakra nonsense. All I knew is, at the time, I was meditating. There was not really anything going on, and I felt as if this was death, not in a bad way or a negative way or an ending way. I just felt, look, I don't exist as a person here or as a body, and yet I still am. Is this death? Or it felt like this is what death is, awareness without body. And at that moment, I experienced this rushing sensation of, it felt like vibration, like my head, I still had my eyes closed at this point, but it felt like my head had not open, but literally there was nothing at the top of my head, like it was a complete open space. And there was an outrushing, but also an inrushing, like a download. It felt like that I was connected with the universe, like literally felt like there were stars and information rushing into this body. And I couldn't control it. I couldn't think about it. It was just happening. I remember kind of shaking gently, and then it was done. So I didn't know what that was. Obviously, it felt amazing at the time, but afterwards, I obviously wanted to replicate it. So further meditation sessions would involve me trying to go back to that space, back to that framework of thoughts maybe that had put me there, or try and repeat the practice. Of course, it never happened. There've been many other incidences like this, in some not in meditation, some just walking around or just in daily life. Suddenly, whether it was grace or anything else, there's been an insight, there's been a crack in the matrix, there's been a deeper seeing into my true nature, that we're not separate, that everything is one. And in the early stages, there was always a further seeking to deepen that and to try and repeat it. And it feels like something's been taken away from you. It literally feels like somebody's waved a carrot in front of your face and they've given you one bite of it, and then they've knocked you unconscious and you've woken up and the carrot's gone. You have no way to get it back other than you try and retrace your steps to what led to that experience. Now, again, this is perfectly natural to want to do this. This is coming from a place of yearning for truth, yearning for the truth of what you are and that deeper reality that you've glimpsed. So there's nothing wrong with trying to get that back and wanting to get that back. But that is a very subtle form of seeking. It's a subtle form of saying what is here right now that is not the same as what occurred back then. What is here right now is not satisfactory. It is not enough. That's really what you're saying by trying to recreate or trying to recapture what's gone before. Now, the other thing that I can tell you from my experience and from speaking to many people over the years is that typically these first glimpses that you have, whether it's in nature, on a meditation cushion, in a dream, or whatever, however it came to be presented to you, these first glimpses are often the most powerful, the most visceral, physical, jaw-dropping kind of like, what just happened? Like, what did I just see? And over time, they get less and less impactful in their physical nature. They don't have that wow impact. So what I'm trying to say here is you won't succeed in getting back to what has happened. You won't get back to that state. But more important than that, you don't have to. Because what we're trying to do, we need to remember the motive here and the motivation, which is to finally learn and understand the true nature of what you are. That's where all of this comes from. That's what that experience was about that you're trying to get back. That's what you're seeking. That's what you're heading towards, is that knowledge. What am I? Who am I? What is the nature of self? What do I mean when I say I? And we need to be, remembering this. We need to have this as a focus when we investigate our actions. So what this means is we need to be very logical about investigating the nature of I and self. Because what you are, the nature of I, the nature of yourself, cannot be something that comes and goes. It's ever present, is it not? You're aware when you wake up, you're aware when you go to sleep, you're aware in your dreams. And even when you feel you're not dreaming, you may say, oh, well, there's no awareness. That's awareness of nothing. It's not no awareness. So what you are does not come and go. So immediately we can lay that down as a fact, say we don't come and go. We're not here one day and gone the next, and then we reappear and it's, it comes and goes, like there's existence, there's not existence. Tuesday last week, there was nobody here. Now we're back again. Tomorrow we'll disappear and the day after. No. When you say I, that which you call I is ever present. So anything that comes and goes is not you. Fair? So we can now start to cross things off the list, like one of those grids, who committed the crime. He had brown hair, he was married. Okay, so this guy's got blonde hair, let's cross him off. This guy was single, blah, blah. So we're going to cross them off. So what comes and goes? Emotions, thoughts, sensations, relationships, experiences, situations, the body, and so on, right? Everything that is perceived comes and goes. The perceiving does not come and go. The perceiving is ever present. So by seeking to get back what you feel you've lost, get that experience back, what you're subtly doing is you're falling into the trap of arguing with reality, saying, I don't like what is here. There is something better other than what reality is presenting to me right now. I lack this. I must get this back. So you're building a connection and a subtle attachment to an experience as an object, or to a practice such as meditation as an object. The mind has created a subtle desire and goal. Now, the motivation behind this has pure intent. You want to discover the truth. You want to get closer to your true nature. You experience this opening and you want to get it back. So the motivation and the intent is pure. But trying to regain an experience, that's the mind getting hold of the intention and trying to approach this in a mind way. The mind basically looks at something, says it's not good enough, and comes up with a plan to make it good enough. That's what the mind does. It's broken. We need to do X, Y, Z, then it will be fixed. It does this all the time with relationships, everything that you do in your, it thinks you need to do in your life. This is what the mind does. Even if there are no problems. If you're lying on a beach and you're on holiday, you've got a drink in your hand, the sun's out, the mind is like, sand on my foot, sand on your foot, it doesn't feel comfortable, you should do this, you're going to get sunburned, you've probably been lying around too much, shouldn't you be doing something, what about everything you've left behind? And the mind's constantly looking for stuff to do. It's creating problems. If there are no present problems, actual problems in front of you, the mind will create some for you. So that's the mind. Again, it comes and goes, so it's not you. So by trying to get back what you feel you've lost, you're creating this, or you're letting the mind take over. You're letting the mind lull you into believing that there is something missing, that you're lacking something. Now, what you can do is you can look back at the experience objectively and try and realize that what you saw and what you experienced was an underlying reality that is always present. It's an underlying reality that's always present. It wasn't something that was initiated by a thought or by a situation or by an experience. It was a removal of some of that stuff that allowed the reality, the true reality underneath to be seen. So with my example, with this kind of opening of the crown, that was really in a point of total surrender. Is this death? This feels like death. This must be what death is: awareness, a level of consciousness, but no body, consciousness of nothing, awareness of no thing. So at that point, when I'd given up seeking, trying to grab, not trying to understand, not trying to resist anything, at that point, as there was no mental noise, as there was no yearning, seeking, distraction, thoughts, sense of lack, sense of identity, sense of being a separate self, all of that had gone. And at that point, this rush into the body, right? This kind of sense of release, relief, and connection to the universe. Not because it's something new that I got or I attained as a person, because a person as a separate entity doesn't truly exist, but rather the ideas of separation, the ideas of being a separate person had evaporated, which then led to the seeing that everything is one. So it was causeless. So by trying to get back to what you feel you've seen, or what trying to get back to what you had and try and get it again, you are inadvertently creating stress and creating dissatisfaction with what is. You're creating dissatisfaction and trying to look for something that you already have. It's literally like you are walking around a desert trying to find your feet. You know, you've always had your feet. That true reality, that baseline, that underlying truth is always there. And that underlying truth is, what is the one thing that does not go anywhere? Does not come and go. It's awareness itself. Awareness of the experience, awareness of the yearning to get back the experience, awareness of these words. That is what doesn't change, and that's what is always here. And that's ultimately what you're seeking, is that recognition. Because the past doesn't exist beyond a thought. It's merely a thought. Right? I mean, you can't go back there. Nobody can exist in the past no more than they can exist in the future. And as we've established, thoughts come and go. So that's not who you are. Those thoughts are not true. Because the mind will come up with all kinds of crazy thoughts. And if you think, oh, well, that thought's true and this thought is not true, guess what? That's a thought. And you didn't control any of it. You're the awareness in which this occurs. So whilst it's a pure intention to try and get these things back, the very act of trying to get them back is taking you further away from seeing what you already have and who you already are.